My name is Serene Weasel Traveler. I'm in my final year at the university. I'm in Bachelor Fine Arts in the art studio, Indigenous art studio. So this is my presentation. So I kind of wanted to just talk about who I am as a person and where my art practice comes from and where my inspiration is, I guess. So this is my family, my children, and this is who I am. And this plays a big part in my art practice. I'm a mother of 3 children. So these are my son and my 2 daughters. I'm recently a grandmother. I don't have any pictures of my grandson. My daughter's very particular where I share his picture, but I'm very proud of being a grandma. So I just kind of want to focus on the middle photo here. This is me and my children at the annual Sundance that's held during the summer on the Blood Tribe. This photo is very significant to who I am as a Blackfoot woman. I was fortunate to be raised as a young child in our Blackfoot ceremonies, our cultures, and our traditions. For generations, it was forbidden to practice our culture. But thankfully for my dad, at a young age, him and his buddies got together and started asking questions to elders in the community about Blackfoot way of being. And so this would have been in the early 70s when he started his journey. And I'm thankful because with his efforts, my upbringing was very based on a very Blackfoot Orthodox way of being. So now my children, they have that way of life instilled in them. So this is just who I am, and a lot of my art form comes from my Blackfoot foundation and who I am. So I'll move on to the next one. So I went to the college and I did receive my fashion design diploma. And so I was fortunate enough to do some work for the Galt Museum, doing a ribbon skirt tutorial video, and then just some of my designs that I've done. So this also kind of plays a part in my art practice where I do a lot of, I've always been a hands-on creator. It's what I do, and it's just also helped me with my art practice. So as a Piikani person, so this is some of my art that has kind of developed from the beginning of my schooling to where I am now. So I just kind of took some of my favorite pieces that I wanted to showcase. This here is where I'm from, Piikani Nation. And what I did was, for the site-specific project, I took rocks from the Old Man River, and that's just located right on my community on the reserve there. I took 172 rocks. They were quite big size rocks. I collected them from the river bottom. I brought them up here, entering into the Piikani Nation. On this other side is the border to the Fort Macleod, the municipality of Fort Macleod. And so I kind of wanted to just use this rock formation as a site-specific project. And just, it's quite large. It's kind of funny, when I was making it, I was nervous. So I had collected all the rocks, put them in the back of my truck. And I guess as a practice, when you take something, you always leave something behind. So in replace of that, so when I did take the rocks, I did leave an offering of tobacco and then I took the rocks, and then I parked on the side of the highway there, along Highway 3, is that? And then I started putting the rocks out. I was a little bit worried about Volker Stevens coming to say, what are you doing? Can't be doing that, messing up with the ditches. But anyways, this is still in place. I'm quite excited to see it whenever I drive by, that it's still there. And what it is it's a symbol, I guess, that represents Piikani. So for all of the Blackfoot tribes, there's a man, I guess you would say, and they each have their own symbology to recognize, to make a marker and recognition of who they are. And so this here is the Piikani sign, and that's just who I am, my identity, and I wanted to showcase that for this piece. So I'll go on to the next one. Here is a video I made. It was in a drawing class. I'm just gonna play it and then I can kind of talk as it's playing. I hope that works. Okay, yeah, so this video here, it was in one of my drawing classes, in my foundation drawing class. And the instructor, I guess, the project was to draw a line, but to think outside the box, I guess, and how would you create a line? And for me, this was what I wanted to do, was my line, my connection to who I am, and my art form, I guess, was to the beads. So growing up as a child, I was always told to be careful, stay close to your family, don't go anywhere, always be with somebody. And it was just like my aunts, my grandma, my mom, being careful that nothing would ever happen to me or anybody in my family, right? The ladies in my family, the girls. And so this here is kind of a tribute to the missing, murdered indigenous women in Canada. I took glass beads to represent each woman, an indigenous woman that has gone missing in Canada. They're all different colors because that would represent their own person, their own character, who they are. And I took, so the line that I'm drawing here is from the women gone missing and murdered. My daughter's hair is what I'm stringing the beads on. So my youngest daughter, I took some of her hair and I'm stringing the glass beads onto that hair. As for myself, I'm wearing mother's red ceremonial dress. And this is what I was, this was kind of like my line or my connection. So from my mother to myself, to my daughter, to all the women have gone missing, murdered, indigenous, in Canada, excuse me. I wanted to make that connection and that, I guess, linear drawing, I guess, in flux, if that makes sense. So I will. It goes on for about 20 minutes and I'm just stringing the glass beads onto my hair. Partways through, I ran out of hair. And so I had to stop and pull a piece of my own hair out, rethread the needle, and then continue to string the beads onto that. So that was how that is. So I will just, if you don't mind, I'll just keep going on. I have another video that I can continue with. So this here is another piece that I had created. I'm just going to play it as well. So this is something that I wanted to recreate. Oh, well, this here is the Indian Act, the book. And what inspired me to do this project here was because the Indian Act involves a lot of the land and the removal of who we are as people. I wanted to do a piece that shows that the land is here, we're still here. And so what I'm doing here is reenacting one of our oldest Blackfoot cultural ceremonies, which is reenacting a beaver and the motions of a beaver. And so what I'm doing is, as I'm reenacting the motions of a beaver, I'm taking that mud and the dirt and putting it into the Indian Act as a way of reclaiming who I am as the Blackfoot woman here, still practicing our ways. And so I'm down by the Old Man River in my community in Piikani there, and I'm just putting the dirt and the earth into the Indian Act so that I'm, yeah, like I said, I'm still here, still practicing our ways, one of our oldest traditions, oldest cultures, oldest ceremonies, and I can still do that regardless of what the Indian Act has done to our people, I guess. So a reclaiming of who I am. So this goes on for a while. I'll just pause it and then I can go on to the next piece. So this one here, it's a photo project done with 35mm black and white film. This here was in this project came from a response that I had heard. I was at one of my children's, my children all took part in sports, and so I was at one of their games. And somebody, and okay, so this is a response to what somebody had told me at the game. They had said that it was brought up that I was a single mother raising my children, and some of the difficulties that I've had with the sports with my children, because my son, he played some professional sports. He was in junior football in BC, and it was quite a struggle to get him to where he was, but he did it, and he did it on his own. So one of the fathers from the team, I guess, kind of made a comment of saying, I wouldn't want to walk a mile in your shoes. And I was thinking about that, and it kind of bothered me, I guess. And so in response, this is what I did. So this here is titled Walk a Mile in My Shoes, and it's my moccasins. And I thought, if he had only known what my moccasins, where they have taken me, the things that I've seen, I've been able to, with these moccasins, I had the opportunity to go to the Great Wall of China and dance. I traveled all over Canada, United States with these moccasins, dancing and just taking part in my ceremonies and my culture, and it's my connection to who I am. And so I just photographed my moccasins and I titled it To Walk a Mile in My Shoes. It would be a privilege, I guess, to me, I think. So that's that one. This here is a art project that I had done. It's a Blackfoot teepee dress. So this here is the outcome. It was the project. And this was in one of my first art classes that I did. I did this one. And it was another project that I did in response to one of my fellow students, I guess. there was a project we needed to do, and she had recreated a teepee and was taking pictures of it all over Lethbridge. It was, I was a little shocked, I guess, and wasn't prepared for the cultural appropriation that had happened during that class. And I was very thankful to the instructor for explaining how cultural appropriation is, he took the time and explained cultural appropriation to the class. But this was my response to that student. And I just wanted to explain the significance and the meaning of Blackfoot teepees. So this here is my dad's teepee. It's the Black Horse Lodge. And the project was a soft sculpture using stencils. And so I took the dress. So I decided to replicate my dad's teepee and make it into this dress, I guess. And I broke it up into 3 layers at the bottom, and at the top, the corset part of the dress is the teepee poles. But anyways, I broke it down and I wanted to explain the significance of a teepee. And so at the bottom layer here, the bottom layer is what we would represent as the earth, the mountains, the hills, the plains. A lot of teepees have these circles here, which are puffball fungus, which represents our children, our future children yet to be born. So it's just kind of like our continuation of Blackfoot people, that we will always be here and we're going to continue to be here. The middle part is usually represents like the animal beings, our human beings. And this middle part here is where the owner of a teepee would have their spiritual connection to their teepee design. And the very top here, which would be this part here, the top is our connection to the sky beings. So the stars, the sun, the moon, constellations. A lot of creation stories are from this top here. A lot of stories, creation stories, stories of the lost children, Scarface. They are represented on the top part of a teepee. So there's this, so for each teepee design and owner, there's the story, and those designs and interpretations are transferred to the owner through a ceremony. And I just felt so, and that's all I'll say about that, because like I don't have transferred rights. I just know what I hear and what I can be told through our ways. But I just felt it was important to respond to the cultural appropriation in class. And I wanted to do it in a meaningful way, because this is just who I am and my worldview and my connection as a Blackfoot woman and to all Blackfoot. Our natural world is who we are, and I think that's why it's natural for us to be so artistic, because we have so much to reach for our richness and our culture and whatnot. So I'm gonna go on to the next one. So here is a quilt that I had made. I've never made a quilt, and I wanted to make a quilt, but this one here is made out of face masks. So was during when the pandemic first hit and we were all in quarantine, and I was I needed something to do. So I made a quilt out of face masks. And at that time, I was making face masks for my community. I'd made thousands of face masks. I'm so done with face masks. But what I did was just from material that I had at home, here at home, I made 175 face masks. And it was during that time I was pretty scared of COVID. I was scared of COVID to hit my family, you know, any of my loved ones. So I decided to make the quilt to kind of represent like comfort and during such like a unpredictable and scary time. So that's what this was inspired from. I did submit it into a Indian art magazine and it did win judge's choice. So it did win, or it was selected for a judge's choice award. So I was pretty excited about that. And right now, currently it is being displayed at the Galt Museum. So I'll go on to the next one. And this here is my face mask. So this is just the process of, I made a beaded face mask. And my inspiration was sage. So this here is a beaded design of sage. And I made the beadwork for that. I'll just go in here. So this is the outcome. Oh, it's blurry. Not a very nice picture. It is on display at the Galt Museum, but my inspiration here was I wanted to use sage because in my cultural, in Blackfoot ways, we use sage as a cleansing, and I wanted to use sage in a face mask to purify and cleanse of the COVID virus. I think I'm running out of time, so I'm just gonna go quickly. So here are a pair of shoes that I made from, that was inspired from the Mootookakio'ssin. Sorry, I think I butchered that. The website, Mootookakio'ssin. So I wanted to find that balance, working between that balance of my contemporary life and my traditional life. A lot of our like policies that have been put in place that have removed a lot of our artifacts from our everyday being, our sacred artifacts, to take away our culture, just to try and assimilate us into the Canadian culture, I guess. It wasn't successful, so currently we're working towards reclaiming our identity, reclaiming our artifacts back, policies in place where we're unable to take artifacts back home. So I wanted to recreate that with my contemporary living and my traditional living. So I made a pair of shoes, beaded shoes, to replicate the design and moccasins that were in the museum. My goal is to continue to take the images and the artifacts from the website and recreate them in a more contemporary style, that finding balance between who I am as a Blackfoot woman in current days and still being connected to my Blackfoot way of being. So the other thing that I'm working on is taking beadwork and lifting it up to a contemporary art form, where it's not just a craft, that it is a art practice. So doing the same thing with my contemporary living, contemporary who I am as a contemporary person, but staying connected and rooted to my Blackfoot way of being and my skills that I have learned through being an Indigenous woman, a Blackfoot woman, and using beadwork to kind of use that as a way of making my art practices. So this here is another beaded cups, McDonald's, Tim Hortons, and Subway, that I had beaded in that same contemporary living, taking the beadwork, making it traditional, I guess, and then also speaking to the whole thing about the environment and the fast way of living and the garbage and whatnot. So it kind of speaks to that as well. And there's a close-up of the cup. And that is it. So if there's any questions, please feel free. I know I kind of went through that quickly.